Let's talk January transfer window. I mean, Alfie, we're going to lean on you a bit for this, I'm afraid. Joe Rothwell coming in on loan by the looks of it. Rumour has it, I think maybe medical today, could be confirmed tomorrow. Did you see that one coming? Because I don't think any of us did.
No, I really didn't, I'll be honest. It did come out of nowhere. I mean, Russell Martin said to us on Friday that he wanted, obviously, a winger and maybe one more. So that was obviously the one more he was alluding to. Unless they are just pulling a fast one on us and they're going to go out and buy 4 or 5. I'm not expecting that. It struck me as strange at first, just because they've already got 2 players for each of the midfield positions. You've obviously got the 2 6s, 2 8s, and 2 10s. And I know Joe Rebo as an 8 is away at the moment, but he'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks, or based on Nigeria's draw with Equatorial Guinea today, maybe in about 7 days. But Joe Rothwell's got a load of championship experience. He's played 150 games. He's apparently a good character, and he's somebody who, he's not a 6 like Flynn Downs. I don't think there's any worry about Flynn Downs going back to West Ham. I've seen a few things like that. I mean, look, don't shoot the messenger, but I don't think that's going to happen. He's somebody who's a ball carrying 8. He scores goals. He's really good, like driving forward, progressive passes and stuff like that. It's all really good. So I think it's a good move in terms of just acting quickly when somebody comes available, adding a bit of quality, a bit of experience to the squad. I've got no complaints of it at all. And obviously, maybe it presents a bit of an issue for Mason Holgate, because you can only have, obviously, as we know, 5 loan players in any given matchday squad.
I was going to ask about that. Have you been checking that today? Like how many we can have in the squad and how many we can have in the matchday squad? Because it's 2 different things, isn't it?
What an unbelievably boring document the EFL regulations are. It's hundreds of pages long. But yeah, you can have 5. You can have more than 5 loan players signed in one season, but only 5 can be named in a squad. So if Rothwell comes in, which we're expecting tomorrow, Mason's going to get nowhere near the squad. And, he's relying on injury or relying on a suspension or something to even get in the 20-man squad, let alone off the bench.
Quick count up. How many have we got at the moment?
This will be the 5th, I believe. This will be the 6th. No, this will be the 5th. But obviously, they want to get a winger in as well on loan. So that'll be the 6th, which will then.
They want to get one. They've said they want to get one on loan. They're not.
Well, I mean, the financial fair play at the moment is that's the most likely way of getting somebody in. They may go out and spend £5 million on somebody, but if you want to get someone like David Brooks, for example, you're not going to buy him, are you?
Are we going to be able to? If we're going to get Rothwell,
you can loan 2 players from any given club over the age of 23 and 2 more under the age of 23.
It wasn't a case of we went in for Brooks and they said no, but you can have Rothwell. Like when Villa tried to sign James Ward-Prowse and we gave them Danny Ings. It wasn't anything like that, was it? That was the first thing that jumped out at me. It kind of makes sense, Glenn, I guess. I know it's probably not the Nathan Tella replacement that we were all crying out for, but someone with a bit of, as Alfie says, some championship experience coming in, and we're going to need players going forward because there's a lot of football still to be played.
I'm going to trust the process on this one because I don't fully get it at the moment. I don't really know enough about Joe Rothwell to say each way. Something Alfie said, we're kind of replacing Joe Aribo, who's going to be away for a month maximum, but we're not replacing Ross Stewart, the Croc Nest Drogba, who's dead, and he's not going to be around till 2029 or something. So yeah, it does seem a bit strange, but I trust Russell Martin knows the player. He was at Blackburn, was it, before Bournemouth, and that's where he got all his championship games. He was quite a sought after player at that time. So he obviously sees a role for him somewhere. I think he likes to have, like a shadow midfield. We've seen this already where we've had 2 games in 3 days or something, and he's picked, I can't remember which game it was, but we had one game where Smallbone, Alcaraz and Charles all came in and replaced, the 3 that had played the previous game. So he obviously wants to do that. Maybe he wants to use Joe Aribo further up the pitch when he comes back. I don't know. So I don't fully understand it at this moment in time. So yeah, like I say, trust the process. We'll see what happens.
I do think there's an argument that you can't really have too many good players, I suppose. The squad isn't huge, is it? They've got 2 in every position. It's not massive. You're only a couple of injuries away from maybe potentially being light. So maybe that's just what they're thinking. And if it's it's a purely wage basis, no obligation to buy, it's just for 6 months. Maybe it's the sort of outlay that they can afford, and they can't go and buy somebody big.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me slightly is that usually these loan deals come with some sort of he must play, or he must play a certain amount of minutes. And on the face of it, Rothwell doesn't seem like he's not definitely going to start, is he? So
those sort of loans tend to be for sort of young development players, where actually the whole aim of it is, right, you're sending this player out on loan to get first team experience. So therefore, part of the deal is he's got to play. But with Rothwell, I mean, he's been around a while now. He's what, 26, I think.
29.
Oh, he's that old. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same lines as Glenn. I don't quite see it, especially given the number of loans we've already got. So yeah, maybe there's a deal to be done with Everton for Holgate to go back, but then as soon as we do that one of our centre backs will get injured again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of the month. Yeah, not quite sure.
Okay, and there was one other signing, wasn't there, Alfie, earlier in the week? Was it the young lad from Ireland?
Yeah, Joe O'Brien Whitmarsh. So he's an 18. You know what? He's actually a very similar profile from what it sounds like to Joe Rothwell. Really, a sort of 8 or a 10 that's quite dynamic ball carrying. But he's an 18-year-old from Cork City. They paid a very small fee up front, and I think it could end up rising to the 100,000 quoted. But right now, that's not the headline figure. Look, it's just about keeping this conveyor belt of young players, I suppose, isn't it? And I said a couple of weeks ago they've sort of identified you can get pretty good value players in Ireland because they're playing men's football at the age of 17, and they're getting stuck in, stuff like that. So another one, a slightly different player to Tyler Diblin, but somebody who's creative in field, and he'll play for them in 21 when he's ready. The only thing about him is it might take a few weeks for him to be sort of up to scratch, because I think the Irish season finished about 6 weeks ago and he hasn't played a game since. So I think he'll have to go through his own individual pre-season before they start playing for the 21s. Well, I went to the 21s game on Friday. They lost 3-2 to Spurs. They'd be really, really disappointed with all 3 of the goals they conceded, but I thought they were excellent. They play the Russell Martin way. They're really well coached. They're brave. They play out the back so well. And most of them are 17, 16 years old. They had 2 15-year-olds starting, making their Premier League 2 debuts as well. So I thought they did a really good job. I did want to mention that.
Spurs 23s have won every game, haven't they?
Yeah, they haven't lost a game this season, have they? I think.
They've got an old group. They're all 20 years old. So they're playing teams that are 3 or 4 years younger than them. And, in Southampton's case, 5 years younger.
I guess the good thing as well, Steve, is it's another week where no one's left. That all seems to be a little bit quiet at the moment. We've got players coming in that we're talking about rather than rumours about those that are going.
Yeah, been very quiet this week, hasn't it? Maybe calm before the storm, I would imagine. That last week is going to be silly, isn't it? You're going to get agents touting players around all over the place. Shea Adams is clearly going to be linked with basically everybody just above the dotted line in the bottom half of the Premier League, isn't he? But I think realistically, actually, it's probably in his interests to stay because he's going to play enough. He'll score some goals, so he'll keep himself fit and in form for the Scotland squad in the summer. If he goes to the Premier League, he might not play.
It's a good shout about the Scotland squad, yeah.
For whoever he joins, sure, yeah, as a new signing, they're going to want to kind of integrate him fairly quickly. But if he's not scored in 5 or 6 games at the start, suddenly he's an option off the bench again, and then Steve Clarke's looking at Lyndon Dykes being the useless battering ram for QPR and thinking, oh, actually he's a better option for me because he's at least playing.
The centre forward market, a lot will depend on, like, for example, if Ivan Toney moved, then obviously Brentford are going to be looking for a striker.
I don't see any way Brentford could possibly let him go.
Nor do I. It's just
because otherwise they'll go down.
If someone loses, 80 million quid sized briefcase probably do the job, I imagine.
But the clubs that are likely to
be odds 2-1 on that.
It's Arsenal or Chelsea, isn't it, who are going to be the 2 clubs who basically need him, and Arsenal definitely can't do 80 million quid with their financial fair play, and Chelsea will probably find some stupid loophole where they could shove it off into the accounts for 2046, but it just doesn't seem plausible this month.
But your point there, Glenn, is that it will take a move probably in the Premier League to get things going, and then there might be a last minute bit of business. And
Wolves seem interested, but it comes back to Steve's point. The last week is always mental because that's when these sort of deals happen, and then someone has to panic and replace someone that they weren't expecting to lose, and all this sort of stuff. Logic tells you that with Saints going the way they are, why would you leave? It's different for Adams because he's out of contract at the end of the year. Yeah. And I guess there's always a chance at some point that Saints might say, that contract offer, say for argument's sake, we're promoted with 4 games to go. They might just say, see you later. you know, because
yeah. Well,
you
this
know,
is it. I mean, we've seen what he's like in the Premier League.
yeah,
Is that return? And like for years we were always saying, well, he just needs a bit of time and to kind of get up to speed with the level, and then we could see a 15-goal season, and yet we haven't. And it's been what 4 years now. Was it 5? I can't remember. But yeah, he's not quite done it. So we know that he's of that level, and unfortunately, Adam Armstrong is probably in a similar boat. In that, if we go up, how much is he actually going to play next season? The one that I'm interested in is Stuart Armstrong. It's gotten very quiet on his contract. I'd like to see that getting resolved one way or the other sooner rather than later, to be honest.
It's just Alex McCarthy that we're not worried about.
Alex McCarthy.
That's the only name that doesn't keep coming up, isn't it?